Is Iran ready to hit Israel through spies in the IDF as well as in the nuclear command? We're asking that question because Iranian state television released footage of what it claims are secret documents exposing Israel's most guarded military and nuclear programs. The broadcast showed files and videos that allegedly reveal activities inside Israel's Dimona reactor and other sensitive Israeli facilities. And according to Iran, the documents include details about Israel's past and current nuclear projects, improvements to the weapons programs, and even names of nearly 190 Israeli scientists and military experts. Iran's Ministry of Intelligence terming the operation a historic breakthrough, calling it a breach into the hidden chambers of Israel's defense system. And with officials claiming Iranian agents managed to extract millions of classified pages from Israel's military, intelligence and nuclear archives. But then, just how credible are these documents? Israel has not issued any formal response to these allegations. Tehran claiming the leaks happened through Israeli insiders motivated by financial gain. And the Iranian revelations also coming against a backdrop of fresh remarks from the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He ruled out nuclear talks with Washington, dismissing negotiations as a dead end. Khamenei, in fact, accused the United States of repeatedly breaking its promises, and his remarks were a direct response to US President Donald Trump's statement at the UNGA, in which he said that Iran would never possess a nuclear weapon and branded the country as the world's #1 sponsor of terror. Listen to this.
In my opinion, negotiating with the United States on the nuclear issue and perhaps on other issues is a complete dead end, meaning there is no right way, it is a complete dead end. Today, we are at a high level in terms of uranium enrichment. Of course, countries that want to make nuclear weapons can enrich up to 90%. Since we don't need weapons and we have decided not to have nuclear weapons, we didn't increase it, we increased it to 60%. It's a very high figure, it's a very good figure, and it's necessary for some of the things we need in the country.
And according to satellite images, in an Associated Press report, Iran has started rebuilding missile production sites targeted by Israel during the 12-day war between the two sides in June this year. Another report also claiming that Iran has likely carried out an undeclared missile test at its Imam Khamenei spaceport. The intelligence claims by Iran coming at a time when Israel continues to struggle with internal security breaches. Just earlier this year, Israeli police and the Shin Bet arrested 2 army reservists, remember, accused of spying for Iran. And the authorities said one of them, a member of the Iron Dome Unit, handed over confidential material about Israel's missile defense system. Evidence included a video of the anti-missile batteries in action. The investigators revealed that these suspects first contacted their Iranian handler last September, and just a month later, nearly 200 missiles and drones rained down on Israeli territory. In retaliation for Israel's role in the killings of the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, the Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, and an Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander. Iran's attack at the time hit several targets, including military sites. In December, another spy network came to light when Israeli police detained about 30 Israelis on charges of working with Iranian intelligence. A month earlier, in October, 7 others were accused of photographing and mapping sensitive bases, including Nevatim and Ramat David air bases. Both facilities were later targeted in missile and drone strikes launched by Iran and Hezbollah. Now, the pattern, combined with Iran claiming to possess key documents on Israel's nuclear sites, does raise crucial questions. Is Iran steadily building a network of informants within Israel's defense ranks? Could Tehran now possess the kind of insider knowledge that directly threatens Israel's nuclear command and missile shield? Well, for now, Israel remains silent. What is clear, though, is that espionage is no longer happening in the shadows. What is the secret to living a long life? What all do you need to do if you want to live for, say, 100 years or even more? Could something as simple as eating yogurt be the answer? And here's why that question comes up. Let's first tell you about a woman who lived to 117, and now we might be able to understand just how that happened. If you want to have a long life and live beyond 100 years, here's what you should know perhaps. A health evaluation of one of the world's oldest people suggesting that one reason for her long life and living to the age of 117 was an extremely young genome, in simple terms. But is it just about good genetics and bad genetics? While members of the woman's extended family died from common causes, reportedly, she had an extremely long life. So then what are we to take away from all of this? And what do we know about the way she lived? For starters, her lifestyle was great. She had a close circle of family and friends, and as her friends died, she made new ones. Basically, she lived a healthy life in many ways and looked after herself. According to experts, healthy genes and microbiomes do not explain longevity just on their own. In fact, she wanted to be studied. She died last summer, and her blood, saliva, urine, and stool were examined. So what's been found? I'm sure you are extremely curious to know. According to a paper published in the journal Cell Reports Medicine, she followed a Mediterranean diet, walked an hour a day until the point she could. And what about genes? According to researchers, also very interestingly, the microbes that lived in and on her body, or her microbiome, are associated with low levels of inflammation. The microbiome had an abundance of a type of beneficial bacteria whose growth can be spurred by bacteria in yogurt. So that's one of the most interesting bits here. She ate 3 yogurts a day. Just to break this down, it's to do with inflammation, high levels of which are linked to advanced aging as per experts. But it's not just about good genes, microbiomes, or other factors. It's a combination of several parameters. And while there have been mixed reactions to those findings, they're also extremely fascinating and form yet another layer in our quest for longevity. According to scientists, they are now using the findings to provide a fresh look at human aging biology, suggesting biomarkers for healthy aging and potential strategies to also increase life expectancy. And with the help of these revelations and further findings, may you live 100 years. Humans have always built tools faster than they have built ethics. But when member states gather in November to debate UNESCO's proposed framework for neurotechnology, it will be marking a rather rare moment, an attempt to anticipate the consequences of a technology before it fully takes hold. It was a watershed moment. In March 2024, 29-year-old Noland Arbo live-streamed a video of how he plays chess on the computer using his brain to move the cursor. He then proceeds to move the cursor on the screen just by thinking about taking it there. Imagine that. Just 3 months before the video aired, he had undergone a surgery in which a brain-computer interface, also known as BCI, had been implanted in his brain. He became the first human recipient of a BCI chip, famously made by Elon Musk's biotech startup, Neuralink. And in the video, when the Neuralink representative asks for the music to be turned down, he obliges. To say that the Neuralink chip has changed his life is an understatement, of course. It has allowed him to play games, use the internet, and just connect with the outside world. He has also become an unwitting celebrity with appearances on talk shows and the subject of intense media attention. And his experience also triggers fundamental questions that neuroscientists have been asking for decades now. So what else can that chip read? What do we know? When technology can access our thoughts, reveal behavioral traits, augment or even incapacitate cognitive abilities, then what ramifications does that have beyond medicine? And what happens if that technology is then used to control or even manipulate or alter? BCIs simply connect to the brain either through a wearable device like a cap or by being surgically attached to the brain tissue. And the closer to the brain that the chip is, the more accurately it can read those signals. The technology is rudimentary at best, but the leaps that neuroscience has made have been astonishing. 12 people now have Neuralink's chips implanted in their brains, and there is a slew of startups around the world producing BCIs. China, late to the game, has already caught up. Chinese scientists have produced a device that decodes the brain's electrical impulses into simple commands using a large language model. In the year 2021, Chile made an extraordinary move to protect neuro rights. It amended its constitution to safeguard cerebral activity and the data derived from it, granting them equal status to personal organs and prohibiting their sale or manipulation. And the same year, UNESCO's International Bioethics Committee published a report about technology-enabled threats to cerebral integrity and personal identity. And in the year 2023, during the 42nd session of the UN body's General Conference, member states unanimously decided to prepare a global standard-setting instrument on the ethics of neurotechnology. The preliminary report and the draft recommendations will be presented for adoption in November 2025. From Orwell's Thought Police in 1984 to Black Mirror's memory playback dystopias, science fiction has long been predicting the advent of dark scenarios created by technology. But what if thoughts can be implanted into people's minds? Who does the data from someone's mind belong to, and how can it be used? If soldiers can be trained to suppress fear, for example, what would that mean for war? As you can tell, the list of possibilities is endless, and there are no easy answers here. The UNESCO framework will not answer all of those riddles, but it will try to settle down the principles, much like the Geneva Conventions did for war. The stakes are high, to say the least. Humanity has a long history of developing technology before it learns how to use and regulate it. Will this time be any different, is the question. Moving on for now, Russian jets, Russian drones, NATO's borders are under pressure, and the allies are arguing while Moscow is denying, but the airspace violations keep piling up. NATO facing its toughest test. Act hard or risk looking weak? Take a look.
Warplanes breach borders, warnings go up in smoke. NATO debates scrambles jets. Bolsters eastern flank. Russia is probing and prodding. Tensions hit boiling point. Inaction is not an option, but whose finger will be on the trigger? It started with a low buzz, drone sighted near Danish airports, then the roar. Fighter jets tearing into Estonian airspace, drones shot down over Poland. Air raid sirens and NATO rushing advanced fighter jets to protect its eastern line. Russia denies everything, calling the alliance's uproar as Western hysteria and warning of dangerous escalation. But on the ground, the danger is deadly real. Airports closed, runways clear, radar screens pulsing red. as pilots scramble and air defenses snap to life. Denmark says the threat is real.
There must be no doubt that everything indicates that it is a professional actor when it comes to such a systematic operation at so many locations almost simultaneously. This is what I would define as a hybrid attack with different types of drones. These are actions that could endanger our security and freedom.
Inside NATO, the debate is a storm. Poland, the Baltics are hawkish, demanding downed planes, live fire and instant retribution for every breach. US President Donald Trump is saying, shoot down any intruding Russian jet or drone. But many European capitals warn of a catastrophe. One wrong missile, one accidental clash, and Europe tumbles into chaos. The fingers are pointed towards Moscow.
The suspicion is obvious. This is part of Vladimir Putin's strategy, without us being able to say anything concrete in this case, as I said. But it is part of what we experience every day. We are not at war, but we are also no longer at complete peace.
Excuse me, Mr. President. What does taking it up a notch mean?
It means that if someone provokes you again, you should respond a bit more firmly. So, I won't engage in political fiction.
The alliance is in a deep bind. The window for consensus is closing fast. Europe holds its breath. The next drone strike could be the one that forces NATO's hand, plunging the continent into the abyss. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Moving on for now, in a move carrying significant importance for Palestinians across the occupied West Bank, US President Donald Trump has reportedly assured Arab and Muslim leaders that he will not allow Israel to move ahead with annexing Palestinian land in the West Bank. In fact, the US President co-hosted high-level meeting with leaders from Qatar, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia, Pakistan, Egypt, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, where Trump expressed firm opposition to any attempt by the Israeli Prime Minister to seize the West Bank. And this assurance coming at a very critical moment, by the way. Since the outbreak of the Israel-Hamas war in October 2023, Israel has expanded its presence across the West Bank. According to an Israeli liberal advocacy organization, Israel has taken over more than 120 illegal outposts during this period. 120 illegal outposts during this period. That is nearly 40% of all such sites documented since 1996. Just last month, Israel approved the construction of a controversial settlement known as E1, located east of Jerusalem, a project that would effectively split the West Bank in half and make the prospect of a two-state solution nearly impossible. Israeli action in the occupied West Bank continues to only increase. Just earlier today, Israel closed the only land crossing linking more than 3 million Palestinians in the West Bank to Jordan, restricting the movement of people, imports, exports on both sides. The crossing is expected to be reopened tomorrow. Annexation has triggered sharp criticism from the international community. Earlier today, the French president has said that any attempt by Israel to annex parts of the West Bank would be a red line for the United States, adding that it could represent the end of Arab-Israeli diplomatic normalization. The French president also claimed that he had been given that assurance by none other than Donald Trump. Arab leaders have also said that any formal takeover of Palestinian land could not just impact the future of the two-state solution, but also the Abraham Accords. The U.S. brokered agreements from Trump's first term that normalized ties between Israel and several Arab nations. And these developments coinciding with increasing pressure on Netanyahu. A large number of countries, including U.S. allies like Britain, France, have recently recognized the Palestinian state. And calls from some of the far-right members of Netanyahu's coalition to push for annexation have been growing. Elections are scheduled in Israel next year. So could the Israeli Prime Minister see annexation of the West Bank as a political opportunity to appease his hardline supporters is the immediate question. Now, it's important to note here that Trump's current stance echoes the origins of the Abraham Accords. In 2020, Israel suspended its West Bank annexation plans after the UAE agreed to normalize ties in return for such a pledge. Regarding the war in Gaza, Arab leaders urged Trump to push Netanyahu towards ending the war and to guarantee the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza. The U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff revealed that Trump presented a 21-point proposal aimed at resolving the Gaza war. Witkoff said he expected a breakthrough related to Gaza in the coming days. In fact, Netanyahu is expected to meet Trump at the White House this coming Monday itself. Now, could this meeting finally pave the way for ending the war in Gaza that has claimed more than 65,000 lives is the big question. And could it also put an end to the Israeli annexation of the West Bank? The world will be closely watching the developments. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.